all-ACC episode.
Shot the lights out.
No, we're moving on to the next topic. We're back with another episode of Mat Madness. And really quickly, all episodes of Mat's Madness can be streamed from the CBB Review YouTube page and clips on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. As always, I'm Madi Travisano, and today's going to be an all-ACC episode because we have Virginia reporter Sam Bass joining the show. Sam, let's start with you. How are you today?
I'm very happy to be here. Got a little smack talk going on before, so I'm excited to debate the big boss. Hopefully he doesn't fire me over it, because I will beat him. That's definitely for sure. I will beat him.
All right, big words. All right, we'll see. Matt, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm adjusting to my new job up here in Rochester, and I'm doing well. I'm glad to be on, and Sam's gonna go down because he goes down all the time. So he's going down yet again tonight. All
right. Well, smack talk is out of the way, I guess, even if you can even call that smack talk. We're gonna get started with our first topic today. So Matt is going to be at the Champions Classic this Tuesday, and that's going to be a big one because it will officially start the Coach K send-off tour as Duke takes on Kentucky at 9:30 inside Madison Square Garden. If you're going to that, I'm so jealous. Topic. For the whole season, what is the biggest goal for Coach K and Duke? Sam, let's start with you.
To be straight up, it's going to be a championship, either ACC or national championship, because let's be real, Duke's been very disappointing lately. They don't win the ACC regular season. They haven't won it since 2014, I believe. National championships, they'll win them, but really the ACC, it seems like it's always a championship year or bust, and I don't really think that there's any other way to send off Coach K than a championship. He's known as this winner. He's always winning games. He's always bringing in top recruits. On paper, if you look at all the teams, Duke should be leaps ahead of the rest of the ACC. The rest of the ACC is actually quite weak compared to a few years ago, especially last year was bad, and Duke still couldn't take advantage of it with all their top recruits. So you bring in Banchero this year, you have Wendell Moore again. Duke should be way ahead of the competition. If they don't win the ACC, I think that's a huge disappointment. It's really a championship year or bust, and what better way to send the most winningest coach of all time out than with a win in a championship?
Yeah, Sam, I gotta like you, reaching for the stars there. I don't know if that's realistic personally. I see this is a Duke program that, you mentioned it right there. This is a team that hasn't gone many places recently. They don't have a title in what seems like, it's up on about a decade right now. So I see this as an opportunity for, the players to kind of rally around Coach K. I don't think you can put a number or an ending on this season. I think you have to see these players that can listen to what Coach K is saying and respect the fact that they have this opportunity to play for a legend in Mike Krzyzewski, and it's going to be the last chance anyone's going to have to do that. So I think the bigger goal for Duke is being able to really respect that fact and see how far they can make it. I just don't like putting a number on this Duke team.
Matt, I do have a clarification question for you. This point, you're Coach K. Put yourself in Coach K's shoes. You've had this great career, probably one of, if not the greatest coach of all time. Do you want your last season to be, we didn't do anything particularly special, but everyone played really, really hard? That doesn't sound like a send-off. The Last Dance, Michael Jordan, you think he's like, you know what? I just hope everyone really has fun. It's so mediocre for such an incredible career. That's setting the bar way too low.
But see, I don't know, because I'm not saying he's setting the bar there. I know that it's a championship or bust every time. I just don't know if it's realistic to say that that's how this has to end. I just think it's more realistic to say, okay, that's the goal, but this isn't how it has to end, I don't know. Virginia's not going to get a title every year. That's the goal, but it's not realistic every year. And I don't think it's the same for Duke.
In Coach K's last year, honestly, how many years have they been the favorite to win it all? They should be winning championships. They bring in the number one recruiting class year after year after year.
And they haven't been.
Well, I'm just saying, like, that should be that's always their expectation. The expectation should always be win a national title, win an ACC championship. And I'm not saying they have because they haven't, and I know that. It brings me great joy when they don't. I dislike Duke very much. I'm a Virginia fan, but like when you bring in that level of talent with that level of coaching, like you should always have a championship expectation and mindset.
It's just when you look at Marvin Bagley and then Zion Williamson and all these great players Duke has had, and they've had nothing to show for it. I don't know. I can't put that number on them yet because it's just like, it's a little bit different if they had won a championship 3 years ago and maybe they have some of the same players from there. And Coach K, since he's really gone to this one and done scenario, they haven't been able to get it done.
And with that, we are going to move on to our next topic. I know that could probably have gone on for so much longer, but that name was just thrown around a lot in our first topic regarding Duke. So let's get into this next one. One of Duke's biggest competitors over the past few seasons has been Virginia, and this year all eyes are on the scrutinized point guard KIHEI Clark. Is he an elite player that can rise to the occasion this season for Virginia? Matt, we're going to start with you. We started with Sam last time, so Matt, take it away.
Yeah, there's nothing Clark has done in his collegiate career for me to say yes. And now I know that, excuse me, this is really the year for him, so maybe he can turn it around. But I'm someone that really needs to see that and really needs to see a good sample size to be able to say for sure on this show, yes, KIHEI Clark is going to be able to turn it around and he's going to be the guy for Virginia this season. I don't see that happening. I see a guy that is reluctant to take shots. He's reluctant to take over. He can clearly lead the offense, but this isn't a Virginia team that has a great offense. This isn't the Kyle Guy and Ty Jerome-led Virginia team that we had in the past. This is KIHEI Clark that's going to be sharing the backcourt with Reese Beekman, a guy that barely averaged 5 points a game last season. Jay Huff is also gone, so there's someone new down low. I don't think Clark is going to be able to do it because he's a guy that needs a little bit more around him. Now, what I will say, Maddie, is that KIHEI Clark has a tremendous coach in Tony Bennett, and I think that could ultimately affect how he plays this season. I think that, Bennett's a guy that's been able to develop players and really get the most out of them, and they don't peak until they hit their senior seasons. So Clark's a guy, obviously, he's been in college basketball for a little bit, but he still has this season, so he still has room to grow by having a guy in Tony Bennett. But I'm just not sure if he's an elite point guard. I think there's a lot of other guys on different teams, different squads in this Atlantic Coast Conference that have a little bit more, especially in their past as far as experience goes, than Clark does.
Matt, I mean, you got me fired up before. You were telling me what your stance was on this, and I'm going to get animated on this because I'm a huge KIHEI Clark supporter. You mentioned it, and I think that kind of goes to my point. He's not going to be the guy who's taking all the shots, but that doesn't not make him an elite point guard. He's distributing the basketball. He's sharing it all over. And if you look at last season, you don't even have to compare it to Kyle Guy, DeAndre Hunter, and Ty Jerome when he had shared the floor with them. He had Reese Beekman next to him last year. Reese Beekman started the majority of the games last year. And Jay Huff's not down there. Sam Hauser's gone. Trey Murphy's gone. But you still have guys coming in. You have Armand Franklin transferred from Indiana. You have Jaden Gardner, American Conference Player of the Year last year for East Carolina. And Caden Shedrick, who showed sprouts of being a great post player last season. So I think that it's so tough to say he's not elite based on his stats. And you know what? I'm going to compare it. You mentioned Tony Bennett developing players. I'm going to compare him to another Virginia point guard, probably a name that a lot of the viewers haven't heard in a while, and that's London Parentes. If you don't know the name, you definitely recognize him by his haircut. He had about 3 feet of hair on his head. But he's someone who came in with KIHEI Clark's role, dishing the ball, sharing it with Malcolm Brogdon and Joe Harris. But he took over in his senior season, 2015, I believe it was, and just shot the lights out, took over while still distributing the basketball. You got another guy like Devin Hall, who didn't really have that number one role, and then he came in and took over. So saying KIHEI Clark isn't an elite level player based on his past performance. He's still a great point guard. The turnovers were a bit of an issue 2 years ago. improved him last year. Same thing with the shooting. I think he's just got to be more confident in his shot. He's shown that it's there. In the championship run Oregon game, he won that game for them. He made that huge pass, probably most iconic pass in Virginia history to Madi Travisano to beat the buzzer against Purdue. He's got it in him, and he's shown us too. I think he is an elite level ACC player, and I'll even give a bold take. He can make first team all ACC this year.
Wow. And I mean, I have two things for you, Sam, because, you know, for me, an elite player is someone that's top 3 in the ACC or, you know, I'm not one to put a lot of people in that category and call them all elite. Just like how nowadays, all of a sudden there's 50 superstars in the NBA. No, there's not. If you're going to call someone a superstar, it's got to be a much fewer people in that category. I'm going to do the same with KIHEI Clark. I'm going to say that he's a great point guard. He's definitely top half in the ACC. Would I say that he's top 3? I'm not sure because there's a lot of other freshmen that are coming in this year. There's a lot of moving pieces. I'd say that he's borderline. So, you know, I'm not going to throw out the idea. But when I think of an elite point guard, I think of someone that can do his job in a lot more areas than he has to. Obviously, KIHEI Clark's job is to run the point. He has to dish out assists. He does that. You know, he doesn't have to take over necessarily, but that'd be something that an elite point guard does. Clark really doesn't have that in him. And the two rebounds per game last season, I mean, he's not a rebounder. So what is he really? He's a good facilitator. He gets the job done in the Virginia system.
I mean, Matt, first of all, you're calling him out for rebounding. That's borderline height shaming. Like if you were that tall playing against 6'7" guys, are you gonna go up and get a rebound? No, that's not his role. He goes back on defense. Tony Bennett always drops his guards back. They're always lowering rebounds because they're dropping back on defense, preventing a fast break. But I think that we've seen him take over games. He's won games for Virginia. They had a game against Louisville 2 years ago where he's shooting the lights out. Because when not all the attention is paid to him, that's when he gets his confidence because he can get past guys off the dribble. He did it fantastically last year. One-on-one, he's quick. He's one of the faster guys in the ACC, and you've seen it from guys like Chris Light, where the height advantage doesn't really matter when you can make up for it with speed. And he's shown spurts of it throughout his career. His senior year, this is his most normal year since that championship. I think he has championship aspirations. I don't know if they're going to get there. I mean, I hate to admit it. I don't think they will. But his mindset and his knowledge and his experience, it's going to help him so much in reaching that top 3, if not top 2, top 1 in the ACC at point guards.
Yeah. What are your expectations for him then? Because that's kind of what I want to know is, you know, if you think that he has a level up to go, what are your expectations for Clark?
Well, you know what? I mean, with him, I'm not really worried about the points or the numbers on the stat sheet. I'm worried about how well he's going to shoot, if he's shooting efficiently, so taking the good shots. I want to see him get to the hole but not force it. When he's struggling, he's forcing those layups. He's getting blocked. He's forcing bad shots, rushing it. And I really want to see his assist-to-turnover ratio at a 5-to-1. I think that's the biggest key on telling how successful he's been.
Okay.
All right. And
hold on just a sec. I got to
No, we're moving on to the next topic. No, that's what I'm here for. We're moving on to the next topic. There's 13 other ACC teams, and obviously the Blue Devils and the Cavaliers would both be good picks, but we've done enough talking about both those teams for the moment. Who are your picks to take the conference title? Matt, we started with you last time. Sam, it's back to you.
So, Mat Mlodzinski, I'm going to ask you something first. We went over Virginia. We know it's a rebuilding year for them. You yourself don't think that Duke has championship-level teams, right? No. North Carolina has a brand-new coach. No more Roy Williams. Who does that leave? The Syracuse Orange. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry, Matt. The Florida State Seminoles will win the ACC this year. Leonard Hamilton does not look a day over 45, and he does not act like it either. He is a genius. He brings in so much size and athleticism. They have the 24th ranked recruit. They have Anthony Polite coming back, an ACC all-team contender. That is just such a cohesive unit, and Leonard Hamilton knows how to win. I don't trust anyone else in the ACC besides the Seminoles at this point, and I really think that they're going to pull away with the ACC too. I don't think it's going to be that close.
Wow. I've got to admit, I think Florida State's a team, Sam, that I think they're going to be there in March. I definitely see them going past the first weekend. So I really can't argue too much with that pick, but I've got to go with North Carolina. I mean, and I know that you mentioned, to your point, new coach, you can't go there. This North Carolina team has not been doing well with Roy Williams. So the fact that they get Hubert Davis in there changes things. RJ Davis and Caleb Love are probably one of the best backcourts in this ACC. Then you have Leaky Black, one of the best names in college basketball, and a senior who's been in the program and can hold down that small forward spot, especially defensively. Then you look at the front court. Dawson Garcia, he averaged 13 points a game as a freshman at Marquette. And then down low, Armando Bacot, who's some people think he could win ACC Player of the Year. It gets even better, though, Sam. Off the bench, Brady Manick, that guy from Oklahoma, he's going to be coming off the bench for this Tar Heels team. And Kerwin Walton, a guy as a freshman for UNC last year who averaged 8 points per game. They've got a couple of other pieces as well. I know I brought you through their lineup, but that's just because I wanted you to see how much this Tar Heels team has. Now, to your point, Leonard Hamilton's a guy that really gets it done. I'm just saying the ACC is wide open, so why not the new guy? The new guy's got the talent. Hubert Davis has these guys. And also the fact that normally when you see a coaching change, you tend to see players leave and transfer out. You didn't see that with this North Carolina team. I have a feeling that's a big testament to who Hubert Davis is as a coach.
I mean, you made some great points there, but I just can't see Hubert Davis being thrown in the mouth of the ACC and just coming in on top. You and I both know, we've been watching college basketball long enough, the ACC, no matter how good or how bad it is, it's a gauntlet. It's so tough to reach the top. Just look at Georgia Tech, Josh Pastner and Jose Alvarado. Look how long it took them. And that was in a messed up year where Virginia couldn't even play in the ACC tournament, or Duke couldn't play in the ACC tournament. But the ACC is so tough, you can't expect a new coach to just step in and win it all. I mean, look at Mike Young. He had a good Virginia Tech roster. And obviously it's different because you're not bringing in the same talent, but he was a great coach at Wofford, great coach at Virginia Tech, and he hasn't even come close. To expect them to win it in his first year, that's quite the stretch.
I feel like it's not as much of a stretch, though, because when you look at Leonard Hamilton, I mean, he's got that recent regular season title, in 2020, but you look at him, he's a guy that just gets to the tournament, and where does Florida State go? Now, I know that's not the question. The question is who's going to win the ACC. Leonard Hamilton might be the regular season guy, but I just look at North Carolina, and I just see Hubert Davis as a guy that is coming in here, and he's going to change the culture, and it just seems that he's not going to need the usual 2 or 3 years that guys usually need. Now, I also want to go to Duke as well, because I know that a lot of people have Duke winning the ACC, a team that can do that. I just don't see it. They've got Virginia twice. They've got North Carolina twice. And they've got Syracuse twice, all three in the top 7 projected in the ACC. That's a brutal schedule. So I'm tossing that Duke out of the way. Colin Spiker, he can come on here another time if he wants to quit producing and join the show for once. Yeah, Colin, you're hearing that right now. But I don't know. I do think it's between Florida State and North Carolina. So I will give you that. I feel like North Carolina has a little bit more.
I just think if it comes down to that and it's those two teams in the scenario that you're drawing out, in the last few games of the season, Leonard Hamilton has a little bit more athleticism, and it seems like Florida State's always pushing the last game. I don't know what Hubert Davis is doing in his training. Leonard Hamilton is so good at closing out the year too. So if we're bringing it in that scenario that you have, I think Florida State's going to pull away with that, no questions asked.
Closing out the year? You want to know what Leonard Hamilton has to close out the year?
Sure.
North Carolina, Clemson, Duke, Virginia, Notre Dame, and NC State. That's a tough 6 games.
I mean, you have NC State and Clemson, who are pretty average in the ACC.
Fair.
Virginia's in a rebuilding year. You mentioned Duke.
But Virginia has an elite point guard, no?
They do have an elite point guard, but you bring in 2 transfers, you bring in guys who haven't really played. Like, they lost a lot of talent. They lost their 4 top scorers from last season.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think Florida State, they're going to be at the top of the conference. And did you say they have North Carolina in there?
Yeah.
That's a huge game for them, and where is that game?
Let's see. That is in Chapel Hill.
So you know what? That's going to be an interesting game. I can't shy away from the Seminoles, and I had them in my ACC preview article, and I was getting a lot of hate for that because you don't have Duke, you don't have North Carolina. Florida State will run this conference. Mark my words.
Sam,
and that is all. That is all the time we have for today. Thanks so much for joining us on another episode of Mat's Madness. This was a really fun one. Once again, all episodes can be streamed from the CBB Review YouTube page and clips on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Once again, this just makes me so excited for college basketball. The ACC we've talked a lot about. Can't wait for us to talk about the Big East soon, maybe. We'll see. That'll be a fun episode. I'm Madi Travisano, and we'll see you next week.